Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Magic Mike episode. Sans the magic part of it. Just a lot of Mike this week, and we've got a little sweat at Saratoga. Aaron, pretty excited. I like your little polo there too. Rocking the Hawthorne Invitational was a lot of fun there. Both got to play that last week. Make sure you check that out over on Racing Dudes YouTube if you want to see the live coverage of that event. But Aaron, it's all about the spa now, baby. Saratoga's open. We got races. We're off the turf. I still don't mind this card, and it could start out in a very, very good way here. But first off, Saratoga feelings. Happy opening day, man. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. It is the best day of the year for me, no doubt about it. I like this meet more than any other, and it's been fun so far. You've got a nice sweat going on here that we'll have in 13 minutes. We'll get to see if the Somobombs and, of course, yourself get the first pick 5 of the meet. That's always good. Listen, I've got the Hawthorne polo on because we have history-making situation today at RacingDudes.com. We're going to do a show called Hawthorne Live, and we get to show you the races live on our YouTube feed. If you don't support Hawthorne, you should, because they're the only track that have ever allowed us to do this. And believe me, we've tried with all of them. So shout out to Hawthorne. We'll have that exciting stuff coming up this afternoon. And you mentioned, or you forgot to mention, Magic can be back now because the FanDuel Naira thing is done. And they've settled it. So
I mean, you should still be using DK Horse to bet Saratoga, but now I guess you have that other option and with a different ADW that's out there as well. So if you want to use that other one, don't, but you can. It is at least optional. And it's nice that Magic can now talk about it. I thought it was funny that he was not allowed to talk about Saratoga, but now he will be back so he could talk Saratoga, which is great because we were going to do a lot of Saratoga. So it's going to be a lot of Mike Somich hosting with random people. And now we get a little bit of Magic love back in the hosting spot. And I be honest, I'm probably a little better analyst than host, so excited to be back into that role when it does happen. We will be taking a break from the actual race talk. So if you're on the podcast, you're listening to this, you're going to hear a lot about Saratoga's 5th, the Somobombs, myself. I'm live for $1 to the 1, 3, 8, or 7, and 10, and we're live in the bombs for 50 cents there. My dad is at the track. He is live. This would be his second biggest score of his life if he can get the 7 home. His biggest one was a Somobombs ticket that paid $9,000 last year at Saratoga, so it would be a nice way to kick off the meet here. So we'll talk a little bit of Saratoga race number 5 when we get closer, about 10 minutes to the post there. We're going to talk the late pick 5 here from Saratoga. And it's pretty interesting on Saturday's card. I thought this was not an open and shut case, and you've got a couple horses I think could likely be singles that I think people are going to single. I didn't find a single. You did. Both of our tickets are a little more pricey. What did you think of the sequence overall?
Yeah, it's a great sequence. My dad and I went over this sequence yesterday on our show, and we did a combined ticket. So if you want even more coverage, you can listen to that. And we kind of, before we got on air, like we don't talk about it until we get right there on the air. And like 2 seconds before we got on, he was like, "Damn, this is tough." I was like, "I know there's landmines at every race," and it to me, it's really a sequence of. You got to, when you go short, I mean, you have to pick that right race to go short in, more so than, man, I've got 4 horses here, but I need to use 8. I feel like if you went 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, you might be able to get there. But, making that ticket to where it makes sense and going short in the right spot, that's going to be the key to this sequence because every race is a really, really tough puzzle.
It is, and there's favorites I am chucking in multiple legs because I like some prices, and I want to see if we can spice this puppy up. There's a heavy favorite in the 11th, which is going to be the Sanford, your feature, that I think is worth some discussion and is going to be interesting. And there's one horse in there where I've made a promise to myself of something I'm going to do at this year's Saratoga meet, and I'm using a second horse in that race specifically because of that promise. We'll talk about it a little bit here in a second as well. But hey, let's jump right into this. Without further ado, let's cover the late pick 5 from Saratoga on Saturday. And we start this sequence off with a tough maiden special weight race, Aaron. $100,000, 3-year-olds and up. So not your classic 2-year-olds, your Ickle firsties there at Saratoga. We've got some interesting horses here at the 3-year-old level. Your favorite going to be the 10 horse in this spot, Hurricane Nelson, who's run multiple times for Clement, including taking on Stakes Company last time out at Gulfstream Park. But there's a lot of interesting first-time starters in here as well. The 3 upstanding going to take a bunch of money. Where did you end up on top here in this very difficult first race of the late pick 5?
Well, you aren't kidding. It's a very tough race. I ended up going the 10 on top here, Hurricane Nelson. So you look at this horse on debut right here all over this track last year, got beat a half length to Deterministic, who has kind of fallen off, but at the time was a pretty good horse and came on this year. It was good at the start. And then, the last 2 times, again, second place and a third place effort, but against pretty good horses. And I just kind of look at the company this horse has been up against, and you kind of look at who else is in this field. I wasn't scared of much. I think the 10 is the horse to beat here. And then my second choice is the 3, Upstanding, for Todd Pletcher. And I think of the new shooter, or the new shooter in the race, it's a pretty good spot for a first-time starter. I still see a lot of horses that I wouldn't call them career maidens, but they've kind of had their chances and they haven't been able to get it done, or they've ran a couple times and they just haven't looked very good. So I went 10-3, the top 2 here, but I'm going to go 4 deep in the spot.
Yeah, I ended up going 3 deep. If I had gone 4 deep, the 3 would have made the ticket. But I specifically chose not to use this 3. It's Ortiz, it's Pletcher, it's Rapoli. It's going to get bet. I agree with you that it's definitely has a chance to win. But I had the 10 on top too. Who's the favorite? And I didn't want to use both the 3 and the 10 in that case. I like the 10 for all the reasons that you mentioned. Thought that the first race here last year was a pretty good race. I thought the race at Backwooduk was a very good race, and that was the first in the Clement barn. Last time out, again, I thought ran pretty well against a better group than this. The 2 races at 7 furlongs, I thought were both pretty good. I think the 7 furlong is not going to be an issue here. 22% Clement off the bench. Don't mind Franco and Clement together. 22% is Saratoga, 22% over the last year. So all of the stats kind of line up for me to be on the 10 here. I use the 2 as my second horse. And point clear here, this is a John Ortiz horse. Jose Ortiz rides. This is one of those horses that's going to get bet. I know it's going to get bet. It's a clear trip issue last time where the horse stumbled at the gate. It has an awful early time form pace rating of 61, which is completely inaccurate because this horse is not that slow out of the gate. It's going to be closer to the pace, like the second time out, like the 7 furlongs here for the Son of Malibu Moon as well. So to me, it's kind of a 10-2 were the first 2 that I felt like I really wanted to use. I wanted to take a shot with a price after that. And I think we both kind of said, okay, we want to have someone who's a little bit longer of a price here. You're using the 2 as well, aren't you? Any other reasons you like the 2?
Yeah, same for all my reasons for the 2. I just think this is a horse that you don't really know what he is. Sometimes those horses that kind of don't break very well, get behind, run up late. That's just kind of they run next time out and they still don't run very well. And then sometimes they come up and really run a big race. You have confidence in the connections here, both trainer and jockey, to kind of think, well, this is a pretty aggressive spot for that next start. With Ortiz, you could run in that, like the Ellis Park circuit. You could go down there and maybe get an easier spot. So they think a lot of this horse, and they probably should. I mean, he made up a lot of ground, and like you said, just no chance after that start. So yeah, the 2 for me. I also use the 4, so I went 2, 3, 4, and 10. This 4, 2 races back, had all kinds of trouble after the race. Came back, just ran okay last time out. I don't know. I just kind of think second time after, really failing as a favorite, because the horse kind of got, I don't really know exactly what happened, but the horse, it looked like almost had a heat stroke or something after that race 2 back at Churchill. So kind of get an excuse there. Maybe second time after that situation, maybe this horse runs his best. So I went ahead and threw the 4 on there because of that as well. So I went 2, 3, 4, and 10. I know you've got one, though, that's a little bit longer of a price.
Yeah, the 4 is going to win a race. I don't know when, but this is one of those horses that's going to be, it's been in the maiden special weight ranks, for 5 races already. It's going to be the 6th start, 1 second, 2/3. I don't think this is the group today that Reynolds Channel wins. I wouldn't be shocked if the 4 wins. at the price, I couldn't get completely behind it. And the blinkers off, I think, is a little bit interesting as well. Not pulling the blinkers off after 2 straight races with them. If you go 3 back, that maiden special weight at Keeneland, probably the best race on the horse's card. That's the race they put that last time we saw this horse with blinkers off, lost to Unlimited Potential, a horse that I've been waiting to break its maiden since it debuted at Saratoga and ended up running second on that day to its stablemate. But yeah, I think that this is a reasonable horse to use. I thought it was a little more interesting to go a different direction. And that direction for me was the 5-horse Escondido. Mark Hennig, you get John Velasquez up, second-time starter, adding blinkers. A horse ran really well, especially for its odds, was 31-1 on debut. Ended up running 4th in that race. It debuted at Saratoga at 7 furlongs, had some pace in it, and then just kind of backed off. They went pretty fast that day, 22-1, 45 flat, especially for the 7 furlongs. It feels like the horse just needed the race. When you go back and watch it, the horse got tired. And like going 7 furlongs first time out, one of the reasons I'm not using the 3, I'm willing to give excuses to horses, especially when I'm getting 10-1 and John Velasquez rides back. So I thought the 5 was the interesting price in here. And I like kind of went through and I'm like, is there anyone else I'd considered at a price? I thought both the 1 and 1A, like I wouldn't hate it if someone wanted to use that entry at 10-1 because Brown with Pratt and Davis, not a bad connections there, especially with the price. But for the 5 is a little bit more interesting here. It's interesting here, second time start. And like I said, if you go back and watch the first race, it felt like the 5 needed that start.
Yeah, one thing to keep an eye on here with the 5. So the horse that beat the 5 on that day, that was the Belmont Festival up here at Saratoga on June 7th. That was part of it. The horse that beat the 5 is running in race number 4 on this same card, Illuminaire, the 2 horse in the 4th race. So just kind of give you a little bit of a heads up there. Maybe you watch that 4th race, and if the 2 takes them gate to wire or beats them or whatever, you even like the 5 a little bit more. My dad was, he really loved this horse when we talked about him last night. He thought the same kind of thing. He said the same kind of thing that you just said. Look, the horse looked like he needed the race. You watch that replay back. He ran pretty damn good. And maybe he just got beat by a couple of horses that are pretty darn good. And those races up there that were the non-stakes races were pretty loaded all weekend until you got to Sunday. So a lot to like. I can't blame you for putting that horse on the ticket.
Yeah, one of those spots I want to come up with some type of price, especially just with the way that it happened. And Illuminaire is 7-5 in that race. I'm not going to play Illuminaire because I hate one of the things that at Naira, when you have the maiden special weight winner that's taking on older and M1X allowances that bombed in the maiden special weight. It was like just incredible horse in the maiden special weight, right?
Yep.
They get overbet like nobody else at this meet, and it's first time against winners. So I'm not going to hold it against the 5 if the 2 doesn't run well, because I'm going to be against the 2. But that's more because of the conditionings and the situation than it is I don't think the horse is very good.
Yeah, I knew you would say that, and we've had that discussion on this show, whether it be you and Magic, or you and I over text or in person, or at TGI Fridays. Where we believe it or not, where we went 3 or 4 weeks ago, but or 2 weeks ago, I guess. But anyway, I knew you would say that, and that's an angle that has made you a lot of money over the years. And you're right. That horse will be 6-5, 7-5, and you don't have to get a huge price home in that sequence to make it pay, because if you can beat that horse with just a 4 or 5-1 shot, then it's going to juice it up. So, but again, still, it does mean something. If he does roll, it does mean even more for the 5, I think, in this spot.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If he rolls, then I like the 5 even more here. Before we move on, first off, Shoddy's still giving me crap about not loving the chat. I do love the chat. This is a little sarcastic from Shoddy, because I got some slack on Tuesday because I didn't get the chat as involved. So Aaron, I'm putting you on chat duty because I don't usually run this whole thing, and so I'm not as good at Magic, because Magic just doesn't pay attention when I talk. So he reads through the chat and everything, and I try to pay attention when the guest is talking. So I make sure you keep an eye on the chat. One thing that I did notice that I want to at least call out here. First off, what's up, Magic? Welcome back, buddy. Glad you can talk about Saratoga again. JD Fox brings something up that is always interesting at Saratoga, and that is, are there any concern about horses not seeming to be able to make up much ground through 4 races on the main track? I haven't thought that there was a bias. I don't know about you, but I did not watch those first 4 races and think, oh man, I don't want any closer.
When you're running on the dirt in this country, speed is usually where you need to be, whether it be on the lead or a couple links behind or 3 links behind. I don't care if it's Saratoga or anywhere. Most of these tracks, they just play to speed. Now I'm with you. I don't think we've really had a great closer get a good trip and really show us anything to whether it's a bias or not. But I think the more you talk about this shit year after year, and the more of these races you watch on the dirt, it's kind of that way everywhere. You kind of, if you're between a couple of horses, take the one that's got a little bit more early speed. Most times that'll pay off for you.
I 100% agree. Speed is the best, especially when it's not stakes company, right? When you
On the dirt.
and even stakes, you like speed, but you're going to get more consistent efforts. And I would point to the third race where I think the 1A probably wins the race if he doesn't get bumped and go a million wide. The 9 and the 10 dueled early, and the 10 quit badly. The 9, the first time starter, beat a pretty decent field, and the 7 came from way out of it to run third there as well. So at least we've seen someone make up some ground. All right, we are going to pause the picks right now because we've got a little sweat here at Saratoga. I need the 1, the 3, the 7, or the 10 to hit the pick 5 myself, as well as to hit it for the bombs. Who'd you have on top here? Saratoga's 5th race as they try and load this field.
Well, I like the 7 quite a bit. That's what I put on top. I like brown-eyed cat quite a bit. So that's a very good, I don't know if that's a good sign or not, but I love that you have the horse at least. So, and listen, I thought the 10, I thought the 1 made a lot of sense as well. So I did use the 8. Hopefully the 8 does. Oh gosh, the 8 just got a flyer out of the gate.
I was 7-1, 10-3. So same top pick, same second pick.
Yeah.
The 1 now takes the lead away from Call Bob. They're cruising. This is going to definitely make us wonder about whether or not speed holds here if they're both able to go. But that 8 just broke like an absolute shot there.
The 8 did break very fast. Now the 1, they did have to shove the 1 up there a little bit, but he went up there, or she, whatever these are, willingly. So we'll see. The 7 is way out of it right now. Let's hope the speed holds and the 1 kicks away for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, the 3 I think is my most likely winner at this point. The 4 actually looking pretty good, ranging up, but the 8 seems to have put the 1 away.
Yeah,
and the 7 and the 10 are just a mile behind these top 5. So it looks like it's going to be really a 1-horse race at this point as the 8 starts to kick clear. The 7 trying to make up ground, but probably too late coming on the outside. He is flying though. Oh, get up, buddy. Oh, get up.
The 7 is really flying.
Come on, don't run out of real estate.
Come on, get up. I got a big win bet on the 7.
This 8 is
Come
exhausted.
On. Get up.
Get up with his 7.
Get up.
Come on, buddy. No line yet. Now the wire. Let's go.
Right.
Hey, let's go back. Any concerns about horses not seeming to be able to make up much ground on the through 4 races? Nope, no concerns at all. Love the closers.
That was great. And you and I were depressed as could be because we thought this race was absolutely over. And you called the 7 when you finally could see the 7, and it's like, holy shit, that horse is really moving. So congratulations to you. You got the first pick 5 of the meet, and that was nice. What a dramatic way to win that thing.
Yeah, nice to get that 7 home. $2,600 on an $80 or $96 ticket. So nice way to start out the Saratoga meet. We are at least up for the weekend. We'll see how much longer that lasts. So we cruise on too. So that's fun. And yeah, my dad cashes the pick 5 as well. So I'm sure I'm about to get some very happy texts from my father, who had the exacta in the 3rd race as well, because I had the 1 and the 9 there too. So he's having a good day at Saratoga.
I'm telling you what, that's one of the more exciting races you're ever going to see to cash a pick 5, because that was certainly I'm dead. And then there was big hope, but there was also that kind of thought process in your head of he's going to come up a half short or a nose short or a neck short. And he just went right on by. Beautiful, beautiful. Great job. Great job.
And it's yes, I am very tan right now for everyone who's commenting it on the chat. I spent what was it? I spent 4th of July in Santa Cruz, and we did like 2 6-hour beach days, and I tanned very quickly, and so it was yes, we're looking awfully bronzed right now. Great way to start out Saratoga, man. I'm pumped about that. All right,
that was great. Congratulations again. That was a hell of a lot of fun.
I still think Saratoga is the hardest track to handicap, and so whenever you hit tickets at Saratoga, you always kind of feel a little bit better, especially like day one. And like the payout too, 2,600 with the free square in the second. Nice. Not bad at all, considering we were able to beat every other favorite.
Yeah, it was great. And I think for what you do, it is the hardest. I think hitting pick 4s and pick 5s up there are extremely hard. I think if you go race by race, there's harder ones out there, but to string together 5 in a sequence, there's always one race that screws you. And so
Yeah.
you got through the first one, buddy. So, hey, only about 100 more to go or more.
Hey, we're live in the second one now too.
Yep.
So that's we can just keep it rolling here. Let's have an epic opening day at Saratoga.
Yep.
All right, let's go here. Let's jump into race number 9, $62,000 optional N2X claimers, mile and a 16th on the turf. Some of my favorite horses in this race. I like Ruse a lot, the 2-horse. I'm not picking Ruse in this race, but I've liked this horse since running at Saratoga last year. We've got our buddy Phileas Fogg in this spot. We've got an interesting new horse in George W. Irish Ace is back after being in 3 straight stakes races, taking candy returns for Cherie DeVoe. Probably going to use her. Where'd you end up on top here?
Well, you mentioned the 7, and man, I like the 7 quite a bit. And the more I looked at him, the more I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a shot with this horse. You look at the races last year, broke the maiden on the turf, got an off the turf allowance race, and just dominated what was, a very short field. And you see that sometimes. He almost ran too good in that race, Somich, because then they tried the Indiana Derby, which it probably shouldn't have. He still ran okay, though. He got 5th, beaten 6 3/4. I'm assuming, though, he did get injured out of that race, unfortunately. It took some time. He came back last time out, and he was 3rd in an allowance at Churchill Downs, a pretty tough race, only beaten a length 3/4. Now we come up here. We get Irad to ride. It's 2nd off the layoff. The horse has pretty good form. Ran a pretty damn good race to finish 3rd last time out. I'm all over the 7. So the 7 was the top pick here. I'm definitely going to use him. I went 4 deep. I'll say my second one, then you can go ahead and go. The 8 Irish Aces, easy for me to say. Had to make the ticket for me, dropping down in class. A horse that won a race just like this one at Keeneland, and then tried stakes 4 straight times. Ran okay in a couple of them, just not quite good enough. Now we're back down to allowance company. So 7, 8, that's where I kind of kicked it off.
And Jared in the chat as well. I don't know. We've had both of the non-show members of the dudes in the chat with the other 2 on. So nice to have like Saratoga. It just brings people together, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I love George W. in this race. Top pick. This is one of those horses that I will consistently bet. 2nd off the layoff, 2nd out as a 4-year-old. You mentioned kind of the issues after that last race. Debuted on turf, won on turf. This would have been a turf horse through and through had they not had the 2nd race of this horse's career come off the turf, run on the dirt, and the horse wins by 9. So this is a turf horse, and you kind of had the Indiana Derby in there just because they got excited, which don't blame the connections at all. You'd rather have a dirt horse from a financial perspective than a turf horse. I totally get it.
Yep.
But turf is where this horse wants to be. From a trainer numbers perspective, William Walden, 30% off this, 2nd off this type of layoff. You get Irad Ortiz. He's ridden for William Walden 4 times. They've got 1 win with a $2.52 ROI. I don't think this horse wants to be on the lead. I think it kind of inherited the lead last time out. You have early speed, but not necessarily go speed. I think Irad sits this one in the pocket or sits right in that 3rd to 4th type range, gets a very nice trip from this post as well in a race that doesn't have a lot of speed. All systems go here on George W. 8-1 on the morning line. Love this horse. I'm going to try and beat Irish Aces. This is one of those where I agree with you that the company the last 3 times was very good. And I also agree, really the last 4 times, and I also agree that this horse won an allowance last time that we were in an allowance, and it was at Keeneland. It was 3-olds and up. Like it makes a ton of sense to be using the 8 Irish Aces. I just don't like horses that run their best numbers when they lose. And it's against stakes type company because often those numbers get inflated and they're just horses I try and beat when they're short prices. And in this case, Irish Aces short prices. So I'm going to use 3 horses in this race. One's 8-1, one's 12-1, the other's 10-1. So I'm trying to take some stabs here and blow this sequence up a little bit. Second for me, give me the 3-horse, Phileas Fogg. I mentioned the lack of speed. I think this is clearly your speed. And I mentioned the 7-horse, George W., another horse that has speed, has Irad Ortiz on it. Who's riding the 3-horse, Aaron? His brother, Jose Ortiz. What happens when they both have the 2 speed horses in a race?
They fuck up the race.
Crawl. There's never a pace duel. I'm going to rely on the Ortiz brothers to be in the bag here a little bit. I think Phileas Fogg gets a fairly easy lead in this spot. Last time out, going 1 mile and 1/8, that was over dirt. Now we're dropping in company a little bit, dropping down to the 62.5 level from the 80,000 level. This horse won going gate to wire on the turf at at Gulfstream Park, going 1.16 from the 10 post. That is not an easy post to be able to go gate to wire in. Came back, one gate to wire again on the dirt. Has been able to come from off the pace on the turf, but in this case, I think it's just all like just go from the start here for Jose Ortiz. I think they get the lead from the 3 post, and they have a good shot at taking this field gate to wire. Did you consider the 3 at all here?
Yeah, this is kind of one of those races you consider all of them a little bit. They're just not a lot of horses you could throw out. I did. I kind of like another speed horse a little bit more, or potential speed horse in this race, with a little bit of a crazy angle. So I didn't take the 3, but look, get back that race 3 back and kind of get that kind of trip. Look, it's Naira, it's the turf, it's going 2 turns. It might be hard to run that horse down. I can see it.
Yeah, and I realize there's are other horses that have some speed in here. Like the 1 horse Title Forces has some speed. The 7 even has speed. You could say that some of the outside horses, the 10, the 11 may want to go. I just think it's going to be tough for them to clear. And so I'll take the inside speed over that. But I wouldn't knock you if you're saying someone else could get the lead, specifically the 11. Who I think maybe your speed horse, and that was the other one I looked at specifically because the turf stretching out. When you have those 5 and 6 furlong turf races, it kind of hides the speed when you then stretch out to 2 turns. Was it the 11? If so, do you want to talk about it?
Yep. So I went 4 deep, 7, 8, 9, 11. I'll talk about the 9 in a second, but the 11, bring me a check. I think this is a really dangerous horse. You look who claimed this horse, Mike Maker. Okay, so already we've got a trainer upgrade, but now we're doing something. Not only does Maker claim the horse, he stretches the horse out 2 turns on the turf, which is what Maker does best. And so it's like he literally claims this horse for 62.5, and this horse has been sprinting, and now we're going to spot him in this route race. I think the horse is dangerous. And also, I think anytime you look at a form and you're looking at 5.5 and 6 furlong races, and you see the horses in 4th or 5th, up the backside, when they stretch out, that dynamic is totally going to change. Most of those turf sprints, they really are running fast early. I think this horse will go to the front. You look at the 1 route race this horse had, which was over this track, he was in front. And I think with Maker getting this horse now, I think it is just clearly send. Let's see if we can take him gate to wire. So the 11 was kind of my sneaky one. And then just quickly to go through all of mine, the 9, look, it's just a horse last time out, pretty similar race. Got second, only beating the nose, set the pace in that one. I really don't think the horse will get the lead here, but he has races on the past performances where he's been able to sit off of it and still come with a nice little run. So I thought the 9 was interesting too. So 7, 8, 9, 11 is where I landed.
Yeah, I see everything you see on the 11. That race at Saratoga, the one time, he's gone 2 times on the turf. 2 turns, both times, like once drew the 8 post at a mile at Aqueduct. That's a very difficult post, and was facing Spirit of St. Louis. That's a very difficult horse to face. The other time you mentioned was that stakes race, was in the 1 post that day, and they went 24-47. I could see the 11 trying to clear. The question is, like, is Franco just going to go crazy? And if he does, then I think the 11 clears, and we'll see what happens. Don't hate the horse at all. If so, I still like the 3, because I think the 3 then sits the pocket trip, and all of a sudden you got a pretty good chance of being ahead at the 8th pole, but not crazy there. Buoys, I thought it was a little too short. That was my issue here. The last couple races have been 1 mile and 3/16, mile and a quarter. Like I think this is to me, the mile and 16th, the problem there with Buoys. I am going to go with a horse that is sandwiched in between the 2 of them, though. Cherie DeVoe. I mean, she's my girl. If you watch the show, you know I use a ton of her horses. I still don't think she gets any credit for how good she is, and you can see it here by a 10-1 morning line. This horse debuted at Saratoga back in 2022, was on the bench for a while, came back in a tough race at Churchill, drew the 11-12 post, and won that race off the bench. I think that is important to at least note. Ran in 2 races at Saratoga last year, won a $62,000 N1X allowance, jumped up into the Grade 3 Saranac, where Carl Speckler won, and Lost Ark ran 3rd, both of which came back to win stakes races off of that. This horse ran 2nd that day. I think there is a legitimate chance that you're going to get a very good effort from taking Candy at 10-1 here. And I don't think this horse needs the lead. I think that specifically the Saranac was just a funky race where the horse drew the 1 of 5 posts. There's only 5 horses, kind of inherited the lead, just not able to hold on there. But if you go back to Ellis, this horse came from 6th. If you go back to the maiden breaking score at Churchill, the horse came from 8th. So I think that this is a horse that can win on the front or in the back. I think you're probably going to see middle to back of the pack for Taking Candy, not the front. So I'm not as worried about kind of the pace there. And if it does end up with a hot pace, I think that Taking Candy's running on late here. So for me, I'm going 3, 7, 10. Lowest price horse for me, 8-1 on this leg. Aaron, you're going 7, 8, 9, 11. Pretty wide open race considering we're only using one horse the same, and that horse is 8-1.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? And we both like it on top as well, which is even funnier. So I do think, we'll see if I like that horse and you like that horse. Are we really going to get 8-1? That's the question. Probably not.
No. I think probably the second choice, to be honest with you. And Irate Ortiz is riding it. So right there, you're going to get some of the value sucked out of it. Walden, not a big name trainer, but the stats are all pretty good for Walden. So I would be surprised if you get better than 4-1 on the 7. I think that's probably going to be the range that we're looking at here. All right, let's move on to the 10th race here. The Grade 1 Diana Stakes, mile and an eighth on the turf. Fillies 4-year-olds and up. Also known as the Chad Brown Invitational here. 5 horses for Chad Brown in this race. Did I have a Chad Brown on top? I do. You don't, because you're singling here, and I'm not shocked. Who's your single?
Listen, I'm going to go against all the Chad Browns in this spot. I'm going to go number 4, Didia, and I'm just going to single this horse up and hope that she continues to just be a money maker for me. She has been so good to me over her career. If she doesn't do it, just pat her on the head and it's okay, girl, because you've been so good to me, including last time out when she won the New York over this track and beat a damn good field that day. Warlike Goddess was 3rd in that race. She came back to win at Delaware the other day and looked pretty good. And also, I think, with these Chad Brown horses, there's some question marks with a couple of them, how far they really want to go. Number 10, Chili Flag, who's won 3 in a row. Does she want to go this far? That's the question. Even Chad Brown was like, I'm not sure. The 6 White Beam for Chad Brown. Yeah, we do know that she can go a mile and eighth because she won it here last year and she could do it again. But here's the deal. I'm not scared too much of the 6 for this reason. The 4 Didia can sit close enough to not let the 6 get out by herself. And that's the key, I think, and what makes Didia really, really good. She can come from out of it, or she can sit there in 2nd or 3rd, just a couple links off, and still have enough to go get those lead horses if they're not slowing down much. So that's why I was like, you know what? I did not want to single the next race with the 2-year-olds. And then, of course, the 11th or the 12th looks hard, like all finishing races at Saratoga. So I'm going to take my chances with Didia. She's super consistent. She's beaten, horses just as good as this in the past. So give me Didia.
Yeah, I like Didia quite a bit here. I don't have her on top, but she just keeps getting better. And like you said, she's just won, and she's stayed in form for so long that it's hard to try and fade her at this point. I mean, you go back to since she won her first 2 races in Argentina, rips off 4 straight, really only has 1 bad race, and that was the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. And I don't even think it was that bad. I mean, she lost by 4 to Inspiral. Now, she finished 10th, so it looks worse on paper than it actually is. And then she came back from the break, and she wins the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf Invitational, runs 3rd in the Jenny Wiley, where Butte Cash takes some gate to wire in a Chad Brown Invitational race, and then comes back and runs huge in the New York. So you got to give Didia credit here. She makes a ton of sense. She's a deserving favorite. You're probably going to get somewhere in that 3-1, 7-2 range because of all of the Chad Brown horses. So I can't knock you for putting Didia on top. I have Didia in 2nd. I put one of my horses that I really like on top, the 6-horse White Beam here. Yeah. Horse loves Saratoga, 1 for 2 over the track, including beating In Italian back when In Italian was unbeatable in the Grade 1 Diana, same distance over this course. Has tactical speed, but can also come from middle of the pack. Ran, I thought, really well in the Just a Game. Didn't get a great trip in that effort. Was in the 7 post and was just kind of wide on both turns. That's really hard to then hold on once you make the lead, and that's what happened. Makes the lead, and then Chili Flag sweeps on by. I think this to me is the Chad Brown horse that is probably most likely to go. We know in these races when Chad Brown has 5, the one that goes is awfully very dangerous. I think White Beam is probably the de facto one that goes here for him because it's the only one with speed. So I think White Beam is interesting from a pace perspective. We know she likes the course. We know she likes the distance. And she's also in a setup here where I don't see why she couldn't get better 3rd off the layoff. Off that race, stretching out to a longer distance that she likes more as well. So for me, all systems go here on the 6 White Beam. So I use the 4 and the 6. And then I added one more Chad Brown horse. Give me the 2, Capice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If this horse wins, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Well, and that's kind of why I'm using this horse, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people will be pissed off if this horse wins. This is a horse that has been bet very heavily in the first 2 career starts. I thought ran okay to good both times considering the trips. Kind of just got outkicked in the just a game, but now we're stretching out the extra distance. Kingman, a very good distance sire, so no issues there. 3rd off the layoff, 3rd in the Chad Brown barn. And the reason I'm using this horse is the price. 8-1 today, and been the favorite at sub 2-1 against fields that are as good as this one the last 2 races. So the price is right today after being wrong the last 2 efforts. If there is a Chad Brown horse that upsets, I think it is most likely the 2 horse Capice. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6 to try and get through this one, Aaron.
Yeah, like I said, I'll be super pissed if the 2 wins this race, but I'm not going to be shocked at the same time. But look, I mean, this horse, it's just no excuses either time. That was my problem with it. I wanted to put this horse on a ticket and maybe kind of go short somewhere else. And I just kept thinking, I'm just not going to do it again. So, but look, I don't think it's a bad use. I do want to talk about the 10 Chili Flag, because that's actually the horse that I'm most fearful of in this race. For you, was it a matter of maybe the 1 1/8 isn't going to be her thing, or what was the reasons for you leaving off Chili Flag?
I'm not a huge Chili Flag fan. First off, I used her 2 back when she won. I didn't use her last time in the just a game. I can totally see her winning, but when you combine the post with the distance, I don't love her at 1 1/8. I think she's better at a mile. When you combine the outside post as well, and then the fact that I don't think there's a ton of speed and she needs pace to be able to set up for her if she's going to win this race, it just was enough to kind of pass on a horse I think a lot of people are going to use. Yeah. And so it's one of those where I expect most tickets are going to be 4, 6, 10. And so for me, I don't want to use what I believe the majority of the tickets are going to be, which is 4, 6, 10. I think you'll get some ones, but not as much, just because it's Naira, and we've saw Moira at 3 be very good up in Canada, but kind of struggle in the US a little bit here. So I think you're going to see a lot of people using those 3 horses, and I didn't want to use those 3 horses. And to me, it's the price. Like Chili Flag and the 2 horse were the 2 was $1.65 the 2 races ago, $1.50 last time against Chili Flag, and Chili Flag in those races was 4-1 in each. Now I'm getting 8-1 on the 2, and Chili Flag is going to be 4-1 again. And so for me, the price is what really flipped it over on top of the post.
Yeah, Chili Flag has kind of really been surprising to me. Is how I describe it. When she ran 6 to Didia in the Pegasus Philly Mare Turf, I thought, okay, we're not quite up to that level, but I loved her when she dropped down to that grade 3 and she looked great. But then when we went back up to the grade 2, I kind of just felt like maybe she'll run okay, but not quite good enough. And she gets it done. And then she wins the grade 1 and gets it done again. And so she definitely has surprised me with her progression and how well she's been able to run against a tougher company. But again, those last 3 races were at a mile. Now we're at a 1 1/16. Maybe that kick just isn't quite as devastating going a little bit longer. That's going to be the big time question mark here. So I hear you. I still am scared of her more than anybody else in this race, but I do understand the logic of saying, well, if she's going to be, 3-1, 4-1 again, maybe this is the time she gets beat.
Yeah. Well, and it's a 1 1/8, not a 1 1/16. And that to me was a big part of it. And it's that extra 1/8 of a mile here. It's not just the 16th where we've seen her be able to do some, but the extra distance to me is a little bit concerning. This is a tough race. You kind of have to decide where you're going. I don't hate the idea of singling here. Anyone we didn't mention, like Evie Jet's an interesting horse that clearly loves Saratoga. You've got Fluffy Socks, who loves to run second. Nice Marie, who ran second to Didia last time, I think is another horse that is 12-1. That's an interesting price in here. Was there any other horses that, if you weren't singling here, you consider using?
Hey, look, this is an absolutely outstanding race. And you mentioned the 8, Nisi Marie. I would love to have that horse on a ticket somewhere. It's just I couldn't fit her in it. I couldn't make it work, right? And Mission of Joy isn't a bad horse. The number 1 Moira that you talked about. Look, that last time out, she was a length and a quarter behind in Spiral and Warm Heart. I mean, if she runs that kind of race, probably going to be tough to beat in this spot. But can she do it again? Can she do it off a layoff? this is a handicapping freaking challenge. This is such a tough race. We could literally talk about all of them, but I think if I was going 4 or 5 deep, the 8 is one I would love to kind of work into a ticket somewhere.
Who is the last horse you would use if you went 9 of 10 here, all but one button? Who is the one you leave off? I want to see if we have the same answer.
Fluffy Socks.
Yes, it is. It's Fluffy Socks, baby. But I wouldn't mind keying Fluffy Socks in second and third in the try. We'll just put it that way. We've got 7 minutes to Saratoga race number 6. Aaron, the 2 horse Will Not Be Swayed, one of my best bets on the card today. If you listen to Tuesday's episode, the John Gasper, who joined me, actually is a part owner of Will Not Be Swayed. This is a 10 Strike Racing. I know that you know the 10 Strike group as well. They like how this one's working in the morning, and I actually like this horse before John talked about Will Not Be Swayed. Were you on the 2 horse here at the 6th in Saratoga?
Yeah, I've got the 2 horse I'm using. I did put the 1 on top, but I've got the 2 in everything as well. And 2 would be just fine with me. This is always kind of the fun part of Saratoga when you get these type of races where you get the mystery horses. And a lot of times what happens is, the 2 might be really nice and still get beat because there's probably some other really nice ones in here because it's a Saratoga race. And it's, but yeah, look, I think the 2 could show up here and run really well. I like the 1 because I thought the 1 ran pretty well on debut. Maybe that experience second out here for Elsa could make a big difference.
Yeah, the 1 was one of the favorites I'm trying to beat today. I'm 279 in the pick 4s and pick 5s here that are alive right now. So trying to get around this 1 horse who I knew was going to be heavily bet. 6-5 right now on the 1. The 2 Will Not Be Swayed. 5-2 your second choice on the board. The 9 Tekka 7-1 third choice currently. It's Saratoga race number 6 there. All right, let's get back to our pick 5 here as I figure out where that is and go to the penultimate leg of the late pick 5 here Saturday at Saratoga. We are going to go, what is it here? 6 furlongs in the grade 3 Sanford for 2-year-olds, the boys here, and you're going to have a heavy favorite in Mentee, the 1 horse. John Velasquez rides for Todd Pletcher. This would have been an open and shut race for me, except for one of my new Saratoga rules this year, which we'll get into in a second. I do have the 1 Mentee on top. I thought the debut was awesome. I realized the horse opened up and then gave up some lengths, but I don't think ever really got asked when you go back and watch that replay. Just kind of in control. Going to be better second time out here. Clearly has some speed, gets the inside post. I think all those are positives. Do you have the 1 Mentee on top as well?
Yep, I do. I have the 1 on the ticket here, and I think you're right. And you look at the speed figure that horse received versus everybody else, it's a little bit better. We've drawn the rails, so you get out and you get the lead, shortest way around the track, all that kind of stuff. I think Mentee makes a lot of sense. Now, one thing you've got a lesson, or maybe not a lesson, but a rule for you for Saratoga this meet. Here's mine: don't go really short in the baby races up here because that's when something crazy usually happens. So I did not single because, look, I've been burned going short in these baby races before. I could just think back to several where it's like, man, that horse ran so well. And here comes this Lucas bomb at 20-1 that wins. Think about Dornock last year, who got beat by a Lucas horse when Dornock debuted, so I'm going to go 3 deep. I do use the 1. I look, probably the best horse in the race. The 8 is super interesting to me. This horse on debut was bet down to even money for Jeremiah Englehart. Irad Ortiz got them out 1/10, just ran off the screen. Irad back aboard the second time. Here's a stat for you. Irad Ortiz has rode for Englehart 7 times in the last year. 5 of them have won, 6 of them have hit the board. And so that just shows you right there. When Irad's aboard for this guy, the horse is pretty good. They think he's going to run well. So the 1 and the 8 were the main plays for me. I also put the 6 on the ticket as well. Studley Do Right. I tried to poke holes in the win last time out here at Saratoga in the Tremont. I couldn't really, pretty much just won it fair and square and came from way out of it on a track that was pretty speed favoring most of that weekend. I thought he was pretty darn good in that race. So I went 1-6-8 in this spot.
Yeah, the 8 I think is really interesting too. This was my 3rd horse. So if I went 3 deep, I would use the 8. Complexity has had a very good start as a freshman sire, stands for 12,500. Clearly worth every dollar of that right now. It's a horse named French Horn that ran 3rd in the Asteria at Saratoga. We've had multiple great maiden special weight winners, multiple maiden claiming winners. Black Forza won an allowance in Ireland, actually. So we've seen some turf from Complexity too. So one of those horses that I'm definitely interested to see and run. Okay, Aaron, my rule: I am not allowing Kevin Rice to knock me out of pick fives when Jose Ortiz rides. It is that simple. When Jose Ortiz rides for Kevin Rice, the win percentage is just absurd when I don't have the horse. Last year at Saratoga, they did not combine it at nearly as the same rate, but over the last 2 years, the jockey and trainer combined for a 38% win percentage. That's right. Kevin Rice with Jose Ortiz, 38% together. That's 13 starts. This horse makes absolutely no sense to be in this race. None at all. None at all. I love the name, Mr. Squeaky Wheels, so that's at least a positive. But this horse won a maiden special weight at Presque Isle Downs, won fairly easily as a decent favorite there in a field of 6. Kevin Rice, when he brings these horses, and generally it's on turf sprinting, it's not on the dirt, but when he brings these horses to Saratoga, watch out. And to me, yeah, this is one where it's watch out. This horse has to be at least live to be in this race. And I'm not saying I think at 15-1 as the second longest shot on the board, tied for second longest shot on the board, I could not use this horse because it's one of those where when it doesn't smell right and you're getting a price, I'm going to include it. And because it's a 2-year-old race, there's no reason Mr. Squeaky Wheels couldn't take a huge step forward here as well. So I'm just going 1-2 to try and get through this.
Well, I mean, if you look at that, if you're going to just look at the form right now, as he says that, you're not going to see it because there isn't anything on the form that tells you this horse can do it. But a couple of things. I don't think it's a bad play at all. And listen, this is what Saratoga is all about. There are people, they get their hands on a good horse to go, okay, let's take it slow. Let's take it easy. Let's get him an easy race, but get him experience. And then we'll have him pop up there in a big time race. And this happens all the time. For example, last year, a horse by the name of Yo-Yo Candy, a horse that probably nobody's ever heard of. He won this race last year at like 48-1. I don't know if he was that high, but he was like 30 or 40-1. So it can happen. It a lot of times, and that's why I said as well, I'm not going real short in these baby races this year up here because there's just too much that can happen in these races, and especially early on in the season where we don't have this thing figured out yet, not even close. So look, I don't hate it. I'm not going to play the horse, but I don't hate it. I can't sit here and make fun of you. That's for sure.
The 3 2-year-old colt races last year may have produced the highest totaled win payout in the history of Saratoga, with Yo Candy winning the first. I can't remember the horse's name that won the last, but won the whole
fella won the last.
Yeah, what, 33-1, 36-1, something crazy like.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I hear you with some of these youngsters. You're gonna get super hyped horses like Mentee, like Complexion today, and the Phillies version of it that are gonna get just bet off the board, and then we'll see if they're the goods or not. And if they're not, it can be bombs away. So we're gonna go the 1 Mentee and the 2 Mr. Squeaky Wheels. Aaron going the 1, the 6 Studley Do Right, and Moplex. By the way, I was 1-2-8-6, so don't hate your 6 either. And we'll take a quick little break before we get to the last race here, because it's Saratoga opening day, and we were about to go off here in the 6th race. I was 2-7-9-1. Aaron, what were you?
Let's see. I went 1-2-7-9 in this one, so we were very similar.
Box the super, call it home, baby. Yeah, I did not use the 1 in the pick X's though, because this was one of those horses where you got to beat favorites sometimes, and this is one of the ones I wanted to take a shot against, specifically because I like the 2 quite a bit, and then I knew the 9 and 7 were going to be prices.
I think this is going to be a hell of a fun race. And have we not had fun at Saratoga already, Mike? So listen, you're going to try to beat the 1. If the 1 beats you, it's okay. You'll be fine.
We're still in the late pick 5, and we've already cashed the early one for $2,600 and the early pick 4 for another 200 something. So
that's right.
Nice to have a $3,000 start to Saratoga. We'll see what happens here in the 6th race. One of our first 2-year-old races of the year as well. The 1 and the 2 both get out fairly well. 6 dropping back early. 1's going to be your speed. Who is that in the 9 out there as well, with the 1, 3, and 9 early?
Yeah. The experience of the 1 breaking from the rail, but that second start, it's a lot easier to break out of the rail. It was relieved that the 1 and 2 get out there early. It's wide open.
Yeah,
the 2's in a great spot.
The 2 is if the 2's got some skill, it's going to be good. The 9's starting to back off. I don't think. Atris is 7 starting to move a little bit for me, but a lot of work to do. The 2 is starting to cruise for Pratt, though.
Yeah, the 2 looks really good.
Should tilt out 3 wide here and go right by these 2.
Let's get the 3 out. That's
come on with his dudes.
It's
Come
going
on
to
with
be a
his
2-horse
deuce.
race.
Come on with his deuce.
Here he comes.
Come on, Prack.
Yep,
Get her by.
got him.
Get her by. I can't tell
got
if
it.
she's ahead or not.
Oh, I can't either. This angle's weird. Oh, shit. The one.
One's got it.
One's got it. Re-rally.
Any rallying you too? In a little bit. Oh man, should have just gone 1-2. Oh well.
The 1, 2, 9 that made up the top 3. I don't know who got 4th. I did not see that.
I thought it was 3, but I'm not positive.
Damn it. Okay, we didn't get our super.
No.
1, 2, 9. Got the try at least.
Got the try. That stinks, man. I wanted that 2 to get home. I really like that 2-horse. I wanted to get home for John too, who was on the show there last week, but he's got to be pretty happy with that debut against the 1-horse who's even money there. 10 strike and John Gasper have to be pretty happy with what they saw there. All right, let's head to.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, I was just say, look, at the end of the day, they were clearly the best 2 horses in the race, and probably what happened was the 1's experience got the 2 a little bit, because what looked like to me, Somich, the 2 kind of got the lead and kind of stopped a minute, because look what the 2 was doing at the end of the race. Making up ground again. So a little bit of greenness probably cost the 2. The 2 might be the better horse going forward. Just keep that in mind as we go on, because you know what? I bet we see these horses again. The summer's just begun.
I wouldn't be shocked if both of them are in stakes races next.
I'm not going to argue you. That's pretty good.
The 1 will be, and I would not be shocked if the 2 is in a stakes race, not a maiden race next time out, because I thought the 2 was going to win for fun on the turn. I thought it was going to roll right on by, and the 1 really ran a good race. All right, let's go to the last race of the day from Saratoga Saturday card here. We're going 5.5 furlongs over the turf course, 35,000 optional claimers here. Interesting race again. Got some old friends back in this one as well, including winners that I've had at Gulfstream Park before. We're going to talk about a little bit. Both 4 deep in this spot. Aaron, who'd you end up with on top?
Yeah, I went kind of boring on top. I did go the number 2, Dr. Ozarin on top. I realized it's a boring pick. Look, the race last time out was embarrassing. I don't know what happened. Just bounced, I guess, off of a pretty big effort off of a layoff. But the race 2 back is probably good enough to win here, or at least be really, really tough. So I did put the 2 there. Look, again, it's not a like a flashy pick, but who exactly are you supposed to pick in this spot that is flashy? This is just a giant mess of a race to finish this thing out. I think the 2, let's hope Rosario can keep him in the race a little bit. That's a little bit of a worry. And then my second choice was the 9. I thought Rhythm Nick, pretty interesting horse here. Another Mike Maker horse on the turf. This time we're sprinting. I think last time out, probably just should have sent the horse a little bit harder. And I think in this spot, I think that's what they're going to do. You draw the 9 hole, send this horse out of the gate, get to the lead, and see what can happen. The last time out was the first race on the turf for this horse. Well, second race, first time in a long time on the turf for this horse. And was in a straight allowance race there at Churchill. Got 5th, only beaten 4 1/4. Now we're at a starter allowance. Like I said, send me to the front this time. I think the 9 could be dangerous. So 2-9 is where I started.
Yeah, I went back and forth on the 9. I don't like taking outside horses in turf sprints at Saratoga. It's one of the main reasons I didn't take the 9 here. It's just once you get out to those 9, 10, 11 posts, it's just really tough to win over this turf course. I agree with you on the 2. Like you said, not very flashy pick here in Dr. Orsarin, but like the best horse in the race, right? Like if you can point to 4 races that probably win this if no one takes a leap forward. So I think the 2 makes a ton of sense. And 7-2 really not a terrible price because of how evenly matched this field is. You can go to a bunch of different horses and point to races where they probably get it done. And one of those horses to me is the 5. Hey, Mac, it's Jack here, second off the layoff. I thought ran pretty well considering we had not seen this horse in over a year. First time off the layoff. That was at Backwaduck. They went fast early, and this horse wasn't really involved in the pace, but was super fast before the layoff. So it made me think that this horse needed that race even more. Like the fact that showed a different dimension, was able to close after never doing that before in his career. I guess did close a little bit back at Saratoga July 30th, 2022, but hasn't done it in a while. This is one of those horses where I'm interested second off the layoff. You go back, you watch the replay, just looked like he kind of needed that race, needed to get back into it. After that long of a layoff, you're going to see a kind of a gap between what the horse is able to do and their top talent. Was 3-1 that day. You're going to get 8-1 today because of the larger field size and because of the competitiveness of the race. But to me, this is a good spot for Hey Mac, it's Jack. The only concern I have is that he's been much better in state bred company, and we're going to open company. So to me, that was the big question mark here. Aaron, you using the 5? Hey, Mac, it's Jack.
I didn't use the 5, and that is good news for you because I'm here to tell you I never get that horse right ever. So it's very good news for you that I'm not using the 5 because he would definitely lose if I put him on the ticket. And I'm with you. Like, obviously, like this horse is just an old pro, so to speak, here on the NYRA circuit. And you and I probably follow the NYRA circuit as much as anybody, if not more than anybody. And you see him. You know, he had been gone for 393 days, but before that, you see him every 3 weeks. So, no, I didn't use him. He's just not one I could ever get right. I went 4 deep. The other 2, I used the number 1 Final Verdict. A little worried that he was 70-1 last time out. He did win, but now we're getting what's going to be a little bit shorter price. But look, the horse ran a really, really good race in that last race at Belmont at the Big A and gets out of the gate well from the rail, might be able to get in front of these horses and take them gate to wire. And then the 11 King Moon Racer was the final one on here. For me, getting Flavian Proud aboard was a little bit interesting. The last time Flavian was on the horse, believe it or not, the horse won. Didn't run all that well last time out. I totally understand that, but maybe the change of scenery will help a little bit here. I don't know. I just kind of felt like this 11 might be sneaky, kind of one of these that, doesn't make a ton of sense until you really look back and say, well, there was a couple of races there. So I ended up going 1, 2, 9, 11.
Yeah, I looked at the 11 for a while. Weaver turf sprinting, get Pratt aboard, like all positive things. Weaver's 26% turf sprinting. The post again was to me like if the 11 drew the 2, I'd probably be using King Moon Racer. But because King Moon Racer's in the 11, not the 2 post, it was tough for me to get there. I did use the 1 as well. Final Verdict. I guess it's not Wedding Funeral because the horse was DQ'd out of first. So there was no wedding at 70-1. So maybe today's the wedding at 6-1. Clear pace on the turf at Saratoga, sprinting with the 1 hole. It's a horse I'm going to use the majority of the time, especially when it's not the favorite. So use the 1 Final Verdict there. And then I'm going to take a shot with a price here. Give me the 3. He's got it 15-1 on the morning line. Jorge Abreu trains this one, coming back off of a decent layoff. Hasn't been seen since running at Aqueduct in January. I'm just isolating the turf races. And when you knock out all of these dirt efforts that we've seen, the turf races are good enough to believe this horse is at least semi-live. And the fact that we're coming off the layoff at 5, debuting at Saratoga here off the layoff, not going to somewhere like Monmouth, not going to somewhere like Parks, and the fact that Luis Saez picks up the mount for Jorge Abreu, who can win off the bench, who's a very good turf sprinting trainer, who has very good numbers going turf to dirt. To me, all of it points that this is a horse that's going to be a little more live than that 15-1 price. And if the speed does materialize, I think it sets up very well for a horse like He's Got It, who Size is going to try and keep on the rail, save ground, tilt out, or try and weave through traffic and get up in the last jump. So I'll take a little bit of a shot here, 15-1 on the 3 horse He's Got It.
Yeah, listen, I think you and Papa Dude hung out yesterday or something because a lot of these horses you like, he actually liked on the show yesterday, which is really not common.
No, we don't have the same handicapping styles.
No, not at all. But he talked about this 3 a little bit, and he talked a lot about that Cherie DeVoe horse that you're using as well. In what I think that's a second leg, maybe I don't remember now. But anyway, listen, the 3 I heard all about it last night, and I think the key for the 3 is if we get some pace. I think this horse is going to be pretty interesting. And look, Saez gets aboard, and kind of similar to how Pratt gets aboard the 11, Saez getting aboard a 3. It helps. It helps an awful lot.
Yeah, it does. And then again, the post for me, we're drawing toward the inside. I want to be on the inside, turf sprinting of this track versus being on the outside. And we'll see if Saez tries to inject a little bit more pace. I mean, he is one of those jockeys who will intentionally try and get horses out of the gate a little bit faster. And the horse has been semi-close to decent paces before. I'm not exactly going to say it's a fast horse, but at least been semi-close to decent paces before. So we'll see what Saez decides to do. All right, Aaron, this is the second show in a row. I've gone over an hour talking about horses. What can I say? I'm excited about some Saratoga action here. But before we take off, let's rip through the pick 5s here. First, we'll let the guests go first here. What do you like here in your pick 5? Both spending a little more money than normal.
All right, we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 10 with 7, 8, 9, 11 with 4, with 1, 6, 8 with 1, 2, 9, 11. So it'll be a $96 ticket. And yeah, we're going a little bit higher, but I think this sequence is worth it.
Yeah, I'm. This is, I think, the highest Magic Mike ticket I've had in a long time. I'm at 108 on this ticket. I'm going to go 2-5-10 with 3-7-10 with 2-4-6 with 1-2 with 1-2-3-5. Trying to beat, I think, 3 of the favorites in this sequence, or either 2 or 3 of the favorites. And got at least a 10-1 in every leg. So we'll see if we can get some prices home here. It's why I'm trying to spend a little bit more, because I do like prices left, right, and center throughout this sequence. Aaron, one more time for everybody who's watching. What's going on a little bit later here on this exact channel?
So many things are going on at this channel. At 4:45, we will have Hawthorne live. And why is that important? Because we are going to show the races live on our channel. Hawthorne has given us permission to show the races live. So we'll cover races 7 through 9 at Hawthorne, and you'll be able to watch the race as we are talking, something that has never been done. So again, if you don't support Hawthorne, if you've never played there, start playing there, because that is really cool. They're the only track that has let us do that. All tracks should let all YouTube people like us do that, to be honest, because all it does is promote your track, but they understand it. They let us do it. So make sure to check out Hawthorne Live. Right after Hawthorne Live, we'll also have Blinkers Off. So that'll come on just right after Hawthorne Live is over. We'll talk Blinkers Off as well. I would imagine on that live show, we'll probably mention the Schuylerville, because, you know, it is going to run during that time as well. So a lot of things going on. Should be a fun evening into the night.
And I excellent job promoting there. One mistake you made. It's 4:45 Central, and no one talks in Central time zone. So 5:45 Eastern, 2:45 Pacific for the Hawthorne live show.
Hawthorne is in the Central time zone, my friend.
Well, I think it's because you're in the Central time zone that you use that time, not any other reason.
Could be.
But make sure you check it out. Like Aaron said, live handicapping the races. We'll have the actual races on as well, so you can bet along with us there as we go through it. I'm going to try and join. Let's go live at 2:30 West Pacific.
Okay.
Because then I can be live for like 45 minutes.
No,
and
I can't. I can't go live then. I'll be somewhere else.
Well, get your butt back home.
No, I'll be on another show.
Oh. Well, that's a problem. You just stretched out everywhere. Anyway, yeah, because that's the 8th race at Saratoga goes off at 2:42, which, by the way, you'll probably be off that show by then.
As soon as I get off that, okay, so sharp money at 4:30 Central Time, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. If you want to watch that, as soon as they say it's over, I will go right to that stream and we can start.
Okay,
but
we'll try.
I can't start until that segment. So, and by the way, talk about VSiN. If you enjoyed Mike Somich and I together, we'll be together again on Sunday for about 12 minutes on the handle as well.
Nice. I like hearing that. Yeah, I will actually be hosting Sharp Money 3 times next week as well. So I may have you join me at some point there too.
Can you host on a Thursday? All right, when are you hosting? I should ask.
It's a good question.
Because I would love to switch my day to where you're hosting. I know
this is wonderful content. I believe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday I am hosting.
Okay, I may switch to Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk off air because this is not wonderful content here. Anyway, make sure you check out VSiN. I'll be on Sharp Money tomorrow, 30 minutes from 2 to 3 West Coast time, Pacific time zone, 5 to 5:30 East Coast. Then live on the handle on 9 to noon West Coast, noon to 3 Eastern, both Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk horses. We'll talk Saratoga. We'll talk sports betting, a little bit of everything. Aaron will join us on Sunday as well for a nice hit. I'm sure we'll talk Saratoga there as well. And make sure you come right back to this channel, 2:45 Pacific, 5:45 Eastern for the debut of Hawthorne Live, including live racing. So we will have the live feed as we handicap and talk what we are going to bet there. Excited to have that going. Make sure you support Hawthorne and make sure you let them know on Twitter why you are betting the Hawthorne races so that we can get this out there, hopefully grow it and be able to get more tracks to get involved with the live races as well. Thank you very much for checking out. I should say this too, for anyone on podcast, this is going to be a weekly thing on the Hawthorne side. So it is going to be every week that we're going to have live racing from Hawthorne on the channel. So make sure you check it out in the future if you're not able to make it, or if you're listening to this in the future because it's a podcast in the past. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us here. Magic Mike Show covering the late pick 5 sequence from Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck with all of your bets, and we will see you all here in about an hour and 35 minutes.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
Late pick 5 carryover at Hawthorne too. Just saying.